Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be working on a sketch of the Cornwall coastline using my Neocolor II water-soluble wax pastels, and I'm also going to use a little bit of gouache towards the end just to intensify the color a bit. I love the Neocolor II because you can use them just as a regular sketching tool or a coloring tool, or you can activate them with water and use them really just like a watercolor paint. So whenever I'm working with my Neocolors, I always start with a very light, rough sketch first, and I'm just outlining some of the major shapes of the cliffs and along the beach. And with Neocolors, the colors can be very intense when you first put them on the paper and activate them with water. So I sort of use the Neocolors the same way I would use a watercolor when I'm doing a painting. So I start light and then I gradually add layers as I go. I'm just outlining some of the cliffs and the rocks. I added a little bit of blue to the ocean and to the sky. And like I said, I like to get a outline sketch and a foundation first. And then once I have the composition arranged for my painting, then at that point I like to go in and I start using some water to activate the color. So I'm using a water brush, and a couple of you have asked me about the water brushes. I have tried a lot of different water brushes, and this is a brush that has water in the handle. So you just squeeze the brush and the water comes out. It does take a little bit of getting used to, and I'll admit they can be frustrating at first. And like I said, I've tried a lot of different brands. I prefer the Pentel brand. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them on any of the art websites, and you can even find them, I believe, on Pentel's website. But I like them because I'm older and I do get fatigue in my fingers when I'm painting for a long time, and I found that the water brushes really aggravated that. So I tried a lot of different kind, and the Pentel has a really soft barrel, and it's easy to squeeze the water out, and I feel like I have a little more control with the Pentel brand. So as you can see here, I'm just going over the lines, I'm activating the color, and the color is just turning into a paint. And I'm being very quick. I have this time lapse sped up just a little bit, but I really don't worry about being super careful when I'm activating my color. My colors have a tendency to bleed into each other, and that's okay because I like a really loose, intuitive type of process, so it doesn't bother me if the colors bleed into each other because I think it just makes it a little more expressive. And this process is, I'm not worrying about perfection. For me, the Neocolor IIs are very relaxing, and I find that using the water brush, it just sort of gives me a little bit more of permission to not be perfect. The water, sometimes it comes out too much, sometimes I need to reactivate it a little bit more, but I find it to be quicker and, I think less pressure. So that's why I like not only the Neocolor IIs, but using the watercolor brush as well. Another way you can use the Neocolors is you can color on a palette. This is a textured palette, and then you can activate the color on the palette with water, and it turns it into a watercolor paint. If you don't have this palette, you can just use a piece of paper and activate the color that way. Just color on the paper and add water with your water brush, or you can use wax paper as a palette. By doing this, it allows you can mix some different colors that you might not have if you have a limited supply of the Neocolor IIs. And I think it just gives a little bit of a softer look. So what I'm going to do now is just continue working on my painting. I'm going to use the Neocolor IIs, but I'm also going to add some gouache paint, which is sort of in between a watercolor and an acrylic paint. So I hope you enjoy watching as I create my Cornwall coastline painting and listen to the relaxing music and just enjoy the process. I hope that you'll stay to the end so that you can see my finished painting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether you thought that adding gouache was a good idea or if you liked just the painting with using only the Neocolor IIs. If you enjoy using Neocolors, please check my channel. I have a lot of videos using the Neocolor Is, which are not water soluble, and the Neocolor IIs, which are the water soluble version that I'm using in this video.